What's up, I'm John Bear, and in this video I'm going to talk to you about 6 ways to make better low light video. 3 of them are going to be camera settings, and then 3 of them are going to be sort of artistic choices.
I think you like the classic.
Jumping straight in, let's take a look at the camera settings. First off, you want to keep your ISO the lowest possible. The higher the ISO, the more grainy the footage will be. Of course, you will get a brighter image, and some cameras can handle that, but my idea of low light is not to turn your camera into a pair of night vision goggles. I want to get very nice, realistic looking low light footage. So let's avoid the ISO, let's keep the quality at its maximum, which leaves us with 2 ways to control exposure. We've got the shutter speed, and then we've got the aperture. So looking at shutter speed, obviously if you're shooting higher frame rates, you'll need a faster shutter. So higher frame rates means darker footage. So you're not going to be shooting slow motion in low light. In fact, you're going to be shooting at 24 frames a second or 30 frames a second. This will allow you to keep your shutter fairly slow. I like to shoot 30 frames a second because I can slow that down to 24 and get a slight slow motion, and I can still follow the 180-degree rule where for every frame the shutter blocks half the frame. Next, take a look at the aperture. Obviously, the faster the aperture, the better. Right now I'm shooting with a Sigma 18-35 f1.8. f1.8 is considered really fast, so the lower the number for the f-stop, the faster the lens, the better it is in low light. This is going to be one of the most important parts of shooting in low light. So if you haven't bought a new lens since you got your camera, if you're still shooting with your kit lens, then this might be the time for you to upgrade and get a proper fast lens. If you're shooting Micro Four Thirds such as myself, you can use Panasonic 25mm f1.7. I have another video on that. It's super affordable, it's like 130 bucks. It's small, it's tiny, it's super sharp, it's amazing. Check that one out. And moving on to the third camera setting that you can set up, I would recommend to set your white balance. When you're shooting in daylight, there's a lot of blue light going around because of the sunlight and the blue sky. What I've found, if I have auto white balance on when I'm shooting at night, my colors tend to become kind of yellow, greenish, vomit looking colors. But setting the white balance for every single shot is a big hassle. So what I like to do is just leave it at tungsten and then go out and shoot. This adds a lot of blues back into the footage, and when I'm color grading the footage, the blue slider is not completely disappeared. So those are the 3 camera settings you have to keep in mind. Now moving on to the artistic choices. When shooting low light, the first thing I'd like to consider is to always have a light in your shot. If you don't have a light in your shot, even though it might be properly exposed, it doesn't give you that contrast, that really nice aesthetic in low light. If you look at this shot, for example, from the intro sequence, there are no lights visible in the footage, therefore I think it kind of looks flat. If you look at these shots here, where you have actually a light visible in the footage, it sort of feels like it motivates the scene. What that means basically in cinematic terminology, when a light motivates the scene, it tricks the audience into thinking that this is the light that creates the light for the scene. This is what lights up the scene. So frame your shots so that there is some sort of light source inside the shot. So that way the shadows and the highlights get a nice contrast. The second artistic choice that I like to consider is to find reflective surfaces. Shoot water, windows, whatever you can find. Anything that reflects light tends to look really cool. And in fact, you can get away with not having any light in your frame if you have a nice reflective surface. So ideally, if you want to shoot low light, the best conditions to shoot would be going out after a rainy day at night in a neon lit neighborhood where everything's still sort of damp and wet, and you can find those wet reflective surfaces. Can you just imagine the street light reflecting off of the pavement? It just looks so good. The third and final artistic choice that I would recommend is to use vending machines as softboxes. Especially if you're in Japan, when you're outside shooting at night, the vending machines give off a really nice soft glow, and you can use this to light up your subjects, and I've used this as a softbox before for my shoots. Any light source that you can find that gives off a nice soft glow, use those as softboxes to light up your subject. Additionally, you can bring your own lights. I have a video up here about the lights that I like to use. You can mount these tiny lights on your camera, and they emit really nice soft light, so you can light up your subject properly. So that's it for my low light video. Those are my 6 recommendations for how to shoot low light. 3 camera settings: shutter speed, f-stop, and set your white balance. And 3 artistic choices: frame lights in your frame, reflective surfaces, use soft light to light up your subject. That's it for this video. If you have any more tips of how to shoot proper low light video, leave them down in the comments below. This subject is very near and dear to me because I'm using a camera that has a reputation of being bad in low light. This is the GH5. So for me, when I go out and shoot low light, I need to have a really fast lens, otherwise it's impossible for me. But for you, your camera might be able to handle higher ISOs without losing quality. But I still think you should keep these tips in mind, because when you crank up that ISO, even if you don't lose quality, it still gives your image sort of like this night vision look. I'm not a fan. I prefer to have a high contrast sort of look, which is more sort of like what your eyes would see. I don't know about you, maybe you're a cyborg or something like that, but for me, I'm a normal human being with normal eyes. Finally, you might be wondering, why would I shoot low light to begin with? Maybe you're not a sort of night prowling person. Well, I have a few suggestions. First of all, if you're shooting a concert, these are very important things to keep in mind. If you're shooting a wedding as well, a lot of wedding venues tend to be very low lit, sporting events as well. And finally, if you're doing urban photography or urban video making, or even just documentary style videos, a lot of the most interesting people come out at night. Just stay safe. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button as well. Thank you.